I'm finally ready to talk about my story, one aspect of my story. I owe it to my audience who's been following me on my streams, my live streams. I really need to thank all of you for sticking with me even during this downtime. Your support has been it's been a lifeline for me, and I want to thank every one of you who has continued to show their support for my channel, even though I haven't been live streaming most recently. And I'm going to let you know why. I'm finally ready to talk about it. It's taken me a while, but I didn't think about making a video. I don't usually do this serious thing. I'm usually, in my game thing, but so this is, bear with me, this is really off topic for what's usually on my channel. It's not my normal content, but I really owe it to you guys, and I really want to thank my regular audience for sticking with me through all of this. Some of you guys that have stayed in touch know that my life has taken a crazy turn. Those of you that don't know, I've been having to deal with losing my father. And I wanted to go into our last days together. Even give a little background about it. We've had our differences. We've had our falling outs in the past. And we were trying to work to rebuild that recently. We have a lot of differences, moral differences, religious differences, and they've clashed in the past. All of my growing up, they've clashed. And moral differences, for example, in the military, I was sexually assaulted, and I was threatened by my entire chain of command not to report it. All of their threats, which were followed through, they got worse the higher up I went in the chain. I got to my company commander, and he told me that he would offer me a very cush job, lots of money, good fancy paycheck for the rest of my life if I just didn't report it. I think his words were, just let this slide under the table and just forget this whole thing. And my dad believed that, even to this day, he believes that I should have taken the money. My life would have been a lot easier. I wouldn't be breaking my back to earn an income and provide for my family, as it's been difficult making ends meet. And he believes that I should have swallowed my pride and picked my battles, and that wasn't a battle I should have fought, because I lost everything. For reporting a crime, I lost everything. And I've met women who have taken deals like this, women in the military who in return will stay silent. I wouldn't recommend it, but I can't speak out against it either, and I can't put down anybody who has. Their lives have been much easier. They've been able to be effective single parents and not have to worry or have the burden of providing for their children and their family, thanks to this hush money. And it's made their lives a whole lot easier, and it would have made mine a lot easier. So my dad was right. He had a very good point. But I know myself. I could not have kept going and look at myself in the mirror every day if I knew I didn't do everything I could to bring the truth to light and bring justice to my offender. It took 2.5 years of me and my offender working together to bring this truth to light. And I had to go outside of the military in order to get justice pushed. But that's a different story, maybe later. So me and my dad had our different opinions about that. we had different religious opinions. He told me he would take me out of his will if I ever became a specific Christian. There's a lot of different Christians he doesn't like, but there's a few that he really hates. And so to me, all Christians are Christians. I don't care who you are. You accept Christ as your Lord and Savior, you are my blood. And nothing's going to convince me otherwise. And if you don't, I'm still going to give you the decency and respect of a creation of the God that I follow and worship. Common decency, respect. You're a human being. You're still a creation to me, in my eyes anyways. For my dad, he told me he would take me out of his will if I ever became a Christian. He sides with the Jewish faith. So later on, in my teenage years, I kind of hated religion for a while. I really hated it. I felt like it was just divisive in every form. But eventually I came into it. I think I went in my search for God when I was fighting for justice in the military. I wasn't getting it. Even when my offender was found guilty of aggravated sexual assault, he never got any jail time, nothing. I think the crime that he was found guilty of was less than what he actually did. And he had 2 daughters at that time. And I'm the one who lost everything. He got to continue life as if nothing happened. And everybody in my unit supported him. So I was on a search for peace, justice, really. I couldn't get it in this justice system. And I had a lot of problems sleeping because of the trauma. I'd get panic attacks, and they got worse the longer I had to work around him, work with people who threatened to keep me quiet. So it was a long fight, and I couldn't stick with it like the way my dad wanted me to. So this fight became something else. I found God at this point, and that's what really saved me. It saved me from going into a really dark path, and I'll never forget what that did for me. So, and I'm not saying I'm a good Christian. By all means, I'm horrible. I'm a horrible Christian. I still have this military mouth. I cuss like a sailor. It's bad. And I have a grotesque sense of humor, or military humor, you might call it. It just, I'm not a good Christian. I'm never going to claim to be, but I try. And I think the most important thing that I try to stick to is treat people how I want to be treated, and that's something I never want to let go. And I'm trying, okay? Oh, the judgment's all right. I feel them. They're coming at me, but I'm trying to do better. I'm always trying. It's an everyday struggle. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying. So, I'm happy where I stand. Even though me and my dad, he tells me I took you out of my will. And I told him I'm very proud of becoming a Christian. This is what I want, and I feel like this is where I feel right. And I know you do your Jew thing, and I'm not going to hate on it, because you know what? My Lord and Savior did the Jew thing too. So I think that's great. we had our differences, and I don't mind that he took me out of his will for that. I don't mind it at all. He is where he is, and he's got his new family now. He married somebody a few years older than me and has a new kid. she's younger than my daughter. And so, he went, you do your thing. I'm not going to hate. And I think, it was still a privilege being able to participate in all of that growing up, and the Sabbaths, all the holidays, Yom Kippur, Passover. It was, Rosh Hashanah was fun. But I thought it was all cool. Jesus did it. So we both knew where we stood when we both started talking to each other again recently during our last days together. All of that was already open out in the air. All of this had passed, and we were trying to squash it. I was, anyways. But I came there. I'm divorced. I'm unemployed. Got a daughter, and I come to him for help because I want to turn my life around. At this point, I want to use my GI Bill to go to college, and I asked my dad if he could help us through it. He helped my older sister through college. He paid for her to go to college. He bought her 2 vehicles, I believe. And even he gave her a free place to live, and he sent her a paycheck every month to spend on whatever it is she wanted to. He didn't know, but for a long time she wasn't going to her classes, and she would use the money to buy drugs. And so I get where trust can be lost with that after that. But here I was, single mom, never had a drug problem in my life, and we come to him for help. I don't need him to pay for my college. I've got the GI Bill for that. I can pay rent because I had everything saved, and I've lived debt-free for years now. I don't need him to buy me any cars because I buy them cash because I don't believe in debt. I don't like it. When I'm working as a contractor, I make good money, and so I had money in savings. I didn't need as much financial help as my older sister did. And I told him, if we can make this work, I can help out. I am an electrician by trade. If it flies, really, I can work on it. I told him I can help out with anything. I'm your handyman. I can fix whatever, do yard work. I could cook and clean. I could babysit. I can pay rent, whatever bills you want me to cover. I really felt like I wanted to be close to family, and I wanted my daughter to have someone to play with. That was important to me. The most important thing was I wanted a relationship with my dad. If I've learned anything through life experience, is that life is very fleeting and it's very precious, and you don't want to waste it and miss out on time over some petty nonsense. We all have dysfunctional families. We all have differences in our own opinions, but really, how important are those? Are they worth losing your family over? You really have to think about that. Are they worth losing them over this difference? And as many differences as me and my dad already had, I was willing to put those aside to have a relationship with him. So it wasn't an easy thing to come forward and ask my dad for this during this time. But he seemed willing to help me through college. I told him what I'd be able to contribute financially, just whatever I could do to help, I was willing to do. Even participate in his Sabbath meals, and he didn't ask me to, but I didn't bring any unkosher foods into his house. just so as not to offend. I don't want to step on any toes or anything like that. He never asked me, but I just didn't. I already know the Jewish line. I know what to do to be respectful, and I did it. And things were going fine for about a month until he started pushing some Christian hating literature and lectures on me from rabbis, which was a little awkward at first. For a long time, for about a month, I didn't say anything. I just listened. I'm like, okay, I'm not here to argue. We're not here to argue. Just hold your tongue. These are his beliefs, not yours. You could just sit here, listen respectfully, and be respectful. You're not here to change his mind. It's not my place. So, and I did. I kept my mouth shut for a long time. And then about a month later, things were going smooth, and it wasn't until he kept telling me, if you disagree with something, you should speak up. You really need to speak up. I want conversation. If you got something to bring to the table, bring it. We can talk about it. And he kept telling me that since day one. And it wasn't until a month later I felt comfortable. I'm like, I finally said something, and it was during one of his lectures, and he was getting pretty into his lecture, and he was explaining it to me, reiterating what they meant. And I actually spoke up, and I'm like, okay, well, we don't actually teach that in my church. That what you're saying Christians do, what you're saying my church does, we don't actually teach that. And he's like, what are you talking about? Your elders told me that that's what you do. I'm like, well, I'm a publisher of my church, and I minister in my church's name, my God's name, and that's not actually a thing. I'm taught not to teach that. I'm taught that's not what we do. I don't know if this was a long time ago. Maybe things were different. I don't know if you were given bad information. I don't know. But as of today, this is not what we do. And I didn't know how else to say it. But he got so angry. He was so angry. He was yelling at me that he thought I was smarter than that. So I told him, I'm willing to listen. Whatever you have to bring to the table. If you want to show me your side of it, that's fine. I'll listen. I'm telling you, based off of what you've given so far, it's their word against what I've experienced. So I can't agree with certain things. You asked me to be honest with you. I'm being honest with you. This is not what we teach. And he didn't talk to me for 2 days, which was very awkward because I had to go upstairs to make my daughter's breakfast, to make my coffee, and pretty much all of our meals. And he wouldn't speak to me. I'd say hello. He wouldn't say a word to me. So I'm like, oh, God, this is awkward. And no differences are worth that. The first thing he said to me after a 2-day silence was, do you know what your problem is? Oh God. Thinking, oh God, I don't want to fight. And I just say, what's my problem, Dad? And he says, you're not submissive. That's why your marriage failed, and that's why you can't find anybody who's going to put up with you now. I'm like, okay. I'm telling myself, okay, he wasn't there. He wasn't there when I had to perform all my wifely duties and be submissive to my husband. He wasn't there for that. He didn't know. And I'm not going to argue with him about it either. That's not why I'm here. And I just told him, okay, Dad, I'm not up here to fight. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm not even going to tell you you're wrong. But if all you have to say is insults, then we've got nothing to talk about. If you have anything productive to talk about, I'll be here. We can hang out. I'll listen. But if not, I'm gonna go downstairs somewhere else and not bother you. He printed me out a bunch of literature about why Christians are bad and why my Bible's wrong, and I went and looked up everything, and every time I looked up quotations, like they were quoting this Bible, I'd go and look up in the Bible what it said, and they changed the words. It wasn't accurate quotations. Like they weren't, from what I was seeing, it was a lot of really angry, biased arguments. Not at all fact-fueled. So I highlighted, I researched, and I had it ready, and he asked me what I thought about it, and I said, well, based on what you brought to me, I'm not convinced of your side of the argument. I could show you why, I could show you what I found, but he didn't want to see it, and he didn't want to look at it. He just said, you know what, you're not as smart as I thought you were. I thought you were better than this. And I'm like, I can only read what's in front of me. I can't just take people at their word. And he's like, well, I thought you were a free thinker. And I'm like, I am. I don't think what people tell me to. By you wanting me to just think whatever you tell me to, you're kind of, killing the whole point of being a free thinker. I'm like, it's so confusing. I don't get it. This makes no sense. This completely invalidates being a free thinker if I were to just submit and listen to whatever you told me the truth was. It doesn't work that way. I'm sorry, but this is where I'm at. I'm just not convinced. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm just telling you I'm not convinced based on the facts you've presented. So he told me, if you're not willing to accept my truth in your heart, then you are not welcome here in my house. You are not good enough to be family. So I told him, the first thing I said in response was, I am not willing to renounce my faith for a roof over my head. Sorry, I'm not willing to do that. And he said, well, that's not what I'm saying. And I told him, well, what are you saying? It's kind of what it sounds like to me. And he says, well, you know what? I don't recognize, is what he said. I don't recognize your headship over your daughter. You're in my house. You're under my headship. And you have to fall into what I believe, what the head of the house believes. That's what God wants. And I said, my God-given right is to teach my daughter. Yours is to guide your family. You have a wife, you have a daughter, you teach them. That's your job. That's not mine. And trust me, I don't want the extra work. I've got enough on my plate. So, but it is my job, God-given, and given to me, a job by my country as a mother. It is my duty to take care of my daughter and to raise her and to teach her. That is my job as her mother. I am her head. And living under somebody else's roof doesn't take that away from me. But he said, you can't, that's not how I see it. You can't stay here if you don't accept my truth in your heart. So again, I told him I'm not going to renounce my faith for a roof over my head. And he said, I want you out. So we started packing our things. I was looking for a place to live. I started applying for work. And things got really hostile. I tried to stay away, to not have any contact with him or his family. Funny thing, I am his family. I'm his daughter. But anyways, I told him I would stay away from his family. So I wouldn't offend him. and we'd look for somewhere else to live. So I was looking. I knew I'd have to work my way through college and continue homeschooling my daughter. I've never put her in a public school. I don't believe in that. I think she's better off with a homeschool education. And I knew it was going to be hard. At this time, I didn't have a monthly income, so finding an apartment was very difficult. Well, I couldn't find an apartment. I didn't qualify because I didn't have a monthly income. Shelters, we'd stayed in a shelter before when my ex-husband was arrested for domestic violence. And usually these domestic violence cases or, severe cases have priority. So it's very difficult getting in if you're not in like a dire situation. And during this time was the Christmas was coming, and it's very busy. It's very busy during that time, and I wasn't having any luck getting into any shelters either. I was looking into rooms for rent, and pretty much the only people that were renting during this time were men seeking female roommates. Like, I'm that stupid. I am not getting into that kind of a situation. Thank you. There were people renting out who did not want any children. So that was out. And it was very difficult. And I was looking at, I had to move all my stuff out. He wanted us out, so I had to move all my stuff out. So I was just moving our things into a storage unit. And I was preparing to live in our car, my car, me and my daughter to live in my car. One day he came downstairs with a piece of paper in his hand, and he said, "Your daughter deserves a better mother. She deserves better than that, than all this, whatever it is you have to give her." And I told him, "I don't care what you've done for me. Nothing gives you the right to put me down as a mother. And I've done everything I could to keep her safe. I've done everything, and I'll always do everything I could, everything I can, to provide for her and keep her safe." And he says, "You know what? I was going to let you stay in one of my condos near the college campus." But he took the piece of paper and he crumpled it, and he's like, "But since you can't learn how to be submissive, never mind." I'm like, "Oh, is this a test? Test of you disrespecting me and see if I was just going to take it? I'm sorry. I'm sorry I have a little shred of dignity left after everything I've been through. But I will not let anybody put me down for what I've known I've fought so hard for. Nothing gives you that right. And if that's what being unsubmissive means, then I'll take it. But I'm not just going to sit here and let you put me down and insult me. Nobody needs that. I'm not even going to sit here and do that to my worst enemy. That's not... Like, why? Why? You got to ask yourself why you would do that to someone." So he just starts yelling, "When are you out? Just get out. Hurry up and get out." So me and my daughter were double timing it, putting everything we got into storage. And storage room is it's a good hour's drive away from where they were. They were up in the mountains somewhere. So we're making trips in my small little car to the storage unit, going back and forth. I'm lifting stuff that's like twice my body weight by myself, and so it was a lot of work. I was exhausted, and I kept getting these really angry phone calls from my dad. you left some coffee grounds in the coffee maker. I want this cleaned up now. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. Oh, Lord Jesus, give me patience. I guess. That was really difficult. And so I told him, okay, I'll go clean it up. As soon as I get back, I will clean it up. We get back, and me and my daughter are, she's helping me carry stuff. She's 7 years old at this time, and she's helping me carry stuff and open the door for me. We're cleaning, we're going through. We go upstairs, and they're watching a movie. They don't even look over to see that we've passed through and everything. And I feel like the tension's really thick. I feel like if I even spoke a word to them, he would go off yelling at me. So I just, I'm like, okay, stay quiet, keep your mouth shut, just go through, clean, do what he says, and get out of here, keep packing. We go through, come back downstairs, and my dad just comes running, literally running down the stairs, yelling at the top of his lungs, if you don't have the common decency to say hello to the baby, then you need to get out now. You never need to come upstairs ever again. And I'm like, you want to lecture me about common decency, says the guy kicking out his daughter and granddaughter to live in their car, yelling so loud you're scaring the 7-year-old half to death. She's hiding behind the couch at this time, covering her ears because he's yelling so loud. And you want to lecture me about common decency? My God, the hypocrisy. So, I tell him, you're scaring my kid. Lower your voice. You don't need to treat me like an animal. Okay, we're trying to be as respectful as we can, given the circumstances, especially. But he's just yelling over me. I can't even get a word in. So he's like, you need to clean up those things. You need to take out the trash. And I'm like, the only way to get through there is through upstairs. He says, I'll open the garage door for you. Like, you don't need to treat me like an animal. Like, this is ridiculous. and he just leaves upstairs yelling, when are you out? When are you out? So again, me and my daughter, we double time it the heck out of there, ready to live in my car. And the strangest thing happened. Christmas is just a couple days away. The strangest thing. The person who I had asked to give me away at my wedding, the father's role, right? Because me and my dad weren't talking at that time. The man asked me to give me away at my wedding, got in touch with me and asked how we were doing, told him what was going on. And he said, I have an extra room. Just stay here with me. And as soon as that happened, boom, I get a call for a job in a different state, a place we've never been before, and I get a start date for it. It's gonna be a week and a half away, the start date, and it's like boom, just like that, just happened. We go over there, and then Christmas comes, and he invites us to a friend's house to spend Christmas at. And this family, I don't know. He spent Christmas with them before, but I didn't know this family, and it was amazing. They had presents for us and everything. For me and my daughter, we were complete strangers to them, but they got us Christmas presents. It was a whole family of musicians with voices like angels, and they sang Christmas carols, everybody. They sang Christmas carols with people playing the piano. That happens in movies, okay? That doesn't happen in real life. Nobody does that. But this family was doing it, and it was blowing my mind. And then the dinner was like pork stuffed with ham wrapped in bacon, and I was like, oh my God, it's a sign. I was so meant to be here. and I felt like God just caught us. He caught us. We were about to fall. We were about to live in my car, me and my daughter, but he caught us, and we had our own room, and it was just amazing. This family that this whole Christmas dinner thing. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. It felt like God catching us through these amazing people. And I will never forget their kindness. One of their daughters is a very talented musician, beautiful voice, and she sang for us. I'm going to put a link to her channel down below. You can click on it so you can get a taste of what I got to hear in person. And she sings Christian music. She's so talented. Her voice is amazing. You guys gotta take a listen to her. These are the people who took us in with their kindness, and I will never forget it. We a week later we moved to this location where we've never been before. Didn't know anybody. Within my first week being out here, no family left. We got no family. Didn't know a single person, and then boom, I met these amazing Christian folk who invited me to come along to their church, and we've been going there every week. Met some amazing people. It's just, God, I feel so blessed. And I remember during these times, I keep thinking back to being in my dad's house. He's a self-made millionaire, by the way. And he would walk me through his house, and he'd say, "Look around. Wouldn't you say that God has blessed me? Look at this big house. Look at all these things I have. Look at, I got this brand new wife, a young, beautiful wife. It's just a couple years older than my big sister. And I got a new daughter, a whole family that's just going to listen to me. Don't you say God has blessed me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Does that mean God hates me because I'm poor? Is that what that means?" I used to ask him, and he never knew what to say to that. But the times I felt most blessed were at rock bottom, where I had nowhere to go. I had no money. I had nowhere to turn. And it was just by miracle we were scooped up by kindness. Those are the times at my poorest, at my lowest, that I felt the closest to God, that I felt most blessed. But I remember, and I keep thinking back, wondering if my life is cursed because times are so hard. Think back to that time I was living with my dad, and we had this, I have a cousin who would come over to visit, and amazing woman, she used to be a single mom, not anymore, but her life is totally, a success story, and she's a mom of 5, some of which are not her own, but she takes care of them like they're her own. A good-hearted Christian woman, and I have nothing but respect for her. And she would come over to visit and help out, and she was very curious about, my dad's faith and his whole Jewish thing. And she was eager to learn, very eager to learn, and and she had a lot of questions, and she would listen, very respectful. But she had a lot of kids, and whenever she'd come over, after she would leave, of course, he would never say this to her face, but it was after she'd leave, he would say, oh God, I'm willing to study with her, but not with those kids. I'm like, well, it's not easy to find childcare at any hour of the day or just whenever. It's not easy. But she's a mom, and we can find something for her kids to do. But he said, no, I don't want those kids around because I want my peace. I want my peaceful Sabbath, and if those kids are here, they're going to ruin it. So I don't want her here if the kids are going to be here. I don't want none of that mess and chaos. And I'm like, geez, you have an opportunity to teach someone who's actually wanting to learn your crap. I didn't say crap, but your thing, your Jewish thing. You actually got somebody who wants to learn your Jewish thing, and this is how you're treating it. Somebody wanting to learn from you is a blessing, and you're rejecting it. You brag about having this really super ultra young wife, beautiful young wife, who's as old as your daughters, but you still can't even honor your own marriage vows to her. You can't even honor the marriage bed to her. Like, why? These are blessings and you are rejecting them. So who am I to think on this situation that I'm in right now and feel like I'm not blessed? I try to treat people how I want to be treated. If I'm in a marriage, I will honor it. And if somebody wants to learn or confide in me, who am I to turn them away because they have kids? Good God, I'd be turning away a horrible, I'd be turning away an awesome opportunity, and that'd be a horrible thing to do. But my computer all of a sudden wants to do updates and it's distracting me. But no, I don't think if you have money, just because you have money in this world, doesn't make you blessed by God. I think back to the scripture when Satan tried to tempt Jesus with, he tried a few things. He said, turn this sand into bread, jump off the cliff, you won't get saved. But then he says, I will offer you all these kingdoms, all this power, money, everything you want. I can give it to you. Now, who is he to offer such a thing if he didn't own it? If he doesn't own this world and everything in it, who is he to offer it? This is his turf. This is his world. He owns everything in it. So if you're all about the moolah, then I don't think that's a blessing from God. And I don't think that if you had to sacrifice your family in order to get that, if you had to dishonor your marriage in order to get that, I don't think it came from God. So no, I don't think he was blessed by God. And I don't feel bad and I don't feel cursed because I'm poor or because I have no family left and I've had to mourn the loss of my dad because he was willing to kick us out without a place to go. And I knew that when that day happened, that was it. There's no coming back from this. You want to play God and try to force me into your religion by threats over a roof over me and my daughter's head. It's evil. Even God doesn't force people to love him. If you want to play God, then that's beyond me. And it's out of my hands. Your forgiveness is with someone else. And I remember feeling that loss that day when it hit me, and I was crying, and my daughter came to me and she put her hand on me and she says, "It's okay, Mom. I lost my dad too, but we still have each other." God, how could I not feel blessed? God gave me an angel for a daughter. And it's the most beautiful thing in my life. I'm not even a good Christian. I'm not. But my life is only proof that nobody's too far gone to receive kindness, to receive love, and there's plenty to be given. No one is too far gone. And you're not alone. If you have lost someone in death, I want you to think about the good times that you've had and the times that they were proud of you. And those moments that stuck out in your memory, that you felt love there. And I really believe that one day, when you meet again, that love will be so much stronger, and they'll be so happy to see you again. One day. And if you're living in a family where you have your differences, try to resolve them. We all have different beliefs, but nothing is so bad where it's worth losing and having to mourn the loss of someone you love. It's not worth it. You can work it out. But there's only so much you can do. You can't change somebody else's mind. You can only do your part. And I feel like I did what I could. And I can walk away knowing that. And I'm okay. But you're not alone. This was a hard journey to get through, and I'm still working through it. And I thank you so much for your patience, everybody who's followed my channel. And if you're new, stop by. I'll be streaming every Sunday after church. Me and my daughter like to have a game night, and I'll try to work in more from there. But if you're going through this, you're not alone. If you've experienced loss, you're not alone. And feel free to stop by my channel anytime. I don't judge. I don't care who you are, what lifestyle you choose. You know, there's plenty of love and kindness to be given. And that's all I believe in. So, that's all I have to say. Finally ready to put my story out. It's not easy. And this was way too serious for like my normal thing. So I'm just gonna get back to my games now. Okay, so I'll catch you guys on the live stream or something. I don't know, but I'll see ya.